Hi, today's video is on a bit of a smaller scale than previous ones. If you've seen my website, then you'll know that I've written some Warhammer 40,000 fan fiction. And today I'm going to talk about some conversions I've done on some miniatures so that they resemble the characters in those stories. I'm going to start over here. This is the main character from the stories, Hazug Throatslitter, the last blood axe left alive on the planet. He takes an Ork Nob figure as its basis from the multi-part Nobs box set. I modified the pistol by adding a longer barrel, a stock, a longer magazine, and an underslung rocket. So it's now a custom rifle with a bit of a sight on top. On the other side is the Necron war scythe that he loots in one of the stories. That is built from part of a Necron Gauss blaster with a Catachan sword underneath it. And at the other end, I use a Dark Elf lance, and the hook comes from the Gauss blaster. And then I've also added, probably can't get this in too close, the power pack from an Imperial lasgun, because the stories state it has to be modified so it keeps working. And next to Hazug, I've got his two servants. Firstly, this is a human servant, Sophie. Of course, blood axes are well known for dealing with humans, and he takes her in tow. This is made from a Blood Bowl cheerleader. With the pom-poms removed, replaced with plastic hands, guns placed in them, and a shoulder bag built from a spare pack and a little thin strip of plastic card for the strap. Then next to that one, we've got the ever-faithful Gretchen. This is ratish brown skin. This takes a standard Gretchen figure, the multi-part plastic ones. I've added a knife on his belt, and I swapped the Gretchen pistol for a proper Ork pistol instead. So he obtains one of those in one of the stories. Now in the second of the stories, Hazug gets himself a truck, and I have modelled that using just the regular Ork truck kit. I've modified it at the back, adding a proper roll cage using an extra roll bar from another truck kit and some bits of plastic piping between them. And if you're familiar with the truck kit, you'll notice I've relocated the weapon mount from one of the forward seated positions to up on the roll cage. I actually do that on all my trucks. I think it looks better than having it in the forward position because it gives it an all-round field of fire. Now, after Hazug and his servants, we go on to this one. Another Ork Nob, two heads, smash a butt face, an Ork mutant. He's got, as you can see, a second head. It's actually the oldest character that I've created out of all of these. I've come up with the idea for him some years before the stories. Had a couple of goes at making figures of him that I never really finished off. And this one, first time I finished one off properly, painted it up. It's made from one of the Assault on Black Reach Ork Nobs, just with a couple of Ork Nob heads added on from the multi-part plastic kit and simple weapon swaps. Then next to him is one of his boys, Coverted. Another just an evil Sun Ork with a shooter and an axe. You might notice his feet are a bit of an odd angle. That's because he's got two right feet. If you want to find out how he winds up with two right feet instead of a left foot and a right foot, you're going to have to read the stories. That was done quite simply from an Ork boy figure, from which I sliced the foot off and replaced it with one from another. Now, we come to Mech Bat Rug. It's made from an Ork boy figure, with the backpack from the mech from the Ork Looters and Burners set, and then a hammer. That hammer comes from the original battle wagon kit, which is long since out of production. I've not painted him up to resemble any particular clan, and in fact in the stories I don't think I've determined what his clan is yet. Moving further on, we come to Drazog Headbanger, Snakebite Weird Boy. He's supposed to be the oldest of the characters. He is well into his 30s, so has learned a thing or two about fighting and keeping alive, and is incredibly bad-tempered. He's made from the standard metal Weird Boy figure. All I've done to convert him is I've removed the Gretchen handlers, who would have been holding onto all the chains to keep him in place, and added a couple of extra totems, such as the skull on the hook, an extra bell, a bit of fur, and they've just come from bits in the bits box. Next to him, Thugrim the Mad. He's one of the newer characters. He was turned up in the last of the stories I wrote. He is a mad knob. Weird boys tend to attract mentally deranged orcs, and this is one that's lived long enough to become a fully fledged knob. He's been modelled again from an orc knob from the multi-part plastic kit. Modified the gun to remember a snaz gun. He's really a sort of orc flash git. And if I hold him closer, you might just about be able to make out he's got an eye patch on. And then there's a bit of a pouch beneath his neck. And of course, the eye under the patch was what he regarded as his good eye. And he's taken it out and he keeps it in the pouch if he ever really needs it. The boot that he's hanging onto is actually just the spare foot that I cut off the Ork Boy model when I made Coverted. And next, the local war boss, Kazkal Kromag. He is a bad moon orc, very wealthy, likes to show off his wealth. Primarily, this is the war boss from the Assault on Black Reach set. The only changes I've made are to the head, because the war boss in the Assault on Black Reach set has a bionic eye, and I've never made any mention of Kazkal Kromag having that, so I took the head from a metal war boss that didn't have the bionic eye and replaced that. And the boss pole, that comes from an old orc war boss figure. Since it was a bad moon, I took the banner pole from that figure and put it on this. And lastly, from the figures at the front, Chief Constable Dariel Thane. He's in charge of the law enforcement in what is the human quarter of where the orcs live, where not all of the population was wiped out. Quite a number decided to collaborate with the orcs instead, and they're pretty much left alone. He tries to keep things peaceful. He's made from the tank commander figure, from the tank accessory sprue for the body and the legs and the gun at his side, plus the arms. The body armour comes from Kroot figures. The original front and back plates had a grenade on, so I had to trim that away, and the bit of string that was holding the grenade in place. And the head comes off a Mordian figure. I took the heads off several Mordians to replace with Praetorian heads. There's another way of getting hold of Praetorians after Games Workshop discontinued them. And finally, this is Two Heads Battle Wagon. Two Heads is quite wealthy for an orc because orcs use teeth as currency, so having two heads, he generates them at twice the rate of most orcs. And the thing is, when I was writing the stories, I never pictured his battle wagon as looking like the battle wagons that have been available from Games Workshop as kits. So this is completely scratch built. I took a plastic card base and then just covered every surface in as many spare pieces, either out of the bits box or scraps of plastic card, as I could to break up the outline. And to actually try and get that right first time from plastic card instead of wasting pieces, I built a very crude cardboard prototype. And you can see just a simple cardboard shell of roughly the same shape, and from this I decided I needed to make it a bit wider, and I wanted to change the front, as you can see there. That's actually a technique I use on quite a few conversions, large scale, to avoid wasting pieces. I found it comes out quite well. And that's it for today. If you want to see either some better images of these characters, they're on my website, along with all the stories that feature them. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.